See, talking about reconciliation, it's easier said than done. And I had this kind of uncomfortable experience just the other day. A buddy and I, we were sitting out, we were having some coffee. And we do this on a semi-regular basis. And he brought up the sermon I preached a couple of weeks ago on reconciliation. And he says, Pastor, who do you need to be reconciled to? And my immediate response was, nobody that I can think of right now. I don't see where I'm bumping heads with anybody. I don't see where I'm kind of torn apart in a relationship, where I'm separated in a relationship. And so I was like, really nobody. And then we started to talk, and he said, well, I've got this issue. How do you go about being reconciled? And as we talked, just for a few moments, it was like, oh, yeah. Now I remember who I need to be reconciled with. And then the question is, how do we do it? Okay, because it's not easy to be reconciled with somebody. I mean, in fact, it might make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. And you want to, and you ought to, but it's hard. It doesn't come naturally. See, as I stated before, our goal is I want you to give it your all. I want you to give it your absolute all to repair broken relationships, to repair those relationships that maybe are being separated or estranged. I don't want you to have any regrets. That when you look back, you're saying to yourself, I laid it all on the field. I gave it 110%. I did not hold back on anything. And so the first thing that we need to do when it comes to reconciliation is humility. Okay, we need to practice humility. C.S. Lewis said it like this: humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. It's not thinking less of yourself, it's just simply thinking more of others. But see, humility is not natural. Being proud and prideful, that's natural, right? I mean, that's our natural sinful desire, to build self up, to be self-focused. Solomon, in all of his wisdom, said it like this: pride leads to conflict. Those who take advice are wise. And so the very first thing we need to do is we need to approach the relationship with humility, of lifting up the other, of being other-focused. Because so often, in all honesty, what we want to do is we want to put it in a box and stick it in a warehouse someplace and completely forget about it, don't we? I mean, if I could ignore it, man, I would. I would take every opportunity not to do it. But then that relationship hurts. That relationship struggles and begins to atrophy, maybe even die. Or maybe that person that you need to reconcile with, well, you just don't have a lot of contact with them on a regular basis. And so it's easy for you not to think about them. I mean, they live in a different part of the state. You don't talk to them that often on the phone. You got to put up with them like, holidays, and that's about it. And you can tolerate that. But yet, it still sits with you, makes you feel uneasy. See, reconciling is uncomfortable. It's not natural. It's a learned skill. It's something that we got to be taught. It's more caught than anything. So I want to go off on a little tangent here, and at least I know I'm going off on a tangent, okay? Moms and dads, grandparents, modeling. Modeling is extremely powerful. Children learn as much, if not more, from your actions as they do from your words. Your kids, your grandkids, the people in your circle of influence in your life, they are watching you. They're watching how you behave. They're watching how you interact with other people. When a situation becomes stressful, they're watching how you handle it. I mean, have you ever heard the old axioms or idioms? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. He's just like his father, a chip off the old block. She is definitely her mother's child. You know why? Because children learn from us. Children are great copycats. Okay, they copy us. That's my oldest daughter, Sydney, who's now a police officer, I mind you. She's sitting on the toilet reading a car magazine. Now, she learned that from Suzanne, okay? But see, she just watches her mom, okay, and all of a sudden there she is doing it. Okay, or another one, the same daughter, Sydney, okay, who once again is a police officer. We go to St. Paul Lutheran School in Westlake, Ohio. It was her first day of school, new school, right? She walks down the hall, and Principal Lerke, Mr. Lerke, is walking down the hallway. Sydney walks up, the preacher's kid, walks up right behind the principal and gooses him. Now, Mr. Lerke was one of these kind of prim, proper, any kind of people. I might just be, woo! And anyway, so he calls the preacher down and says, I don't know what you and Suzanne do at home, but it's not appropriate with the principal. See, when we model, we need to be aware of giving strong, positive role models. Okay, when we interact with people, we need to be modeling a respectful relationship, healthy lifestyles, positive attitudes. I think it's imperative that we share with our kids, and you may have never been taught it. It may have never been modeled for you in your life. You can sit back and think it's your family of origin, and you could be thinking, wow, they did not act properly towards each other. And did you ever catch yourself when you incorporate those same trains of thought? You know, I tell the story that, now I'm going off on a tangent again. I tell the story that when Susan and I first got married, she would get upset with me all the time. I couldn't figure out why in the world she was getting upset with me. It was because my tone of voice was coming out sarcastically. I never picked up on it. I didn't know it. My dad was like the life of a party, right? I mean, he was funny, he was sarcastic, he was the life of a party. Everybody loved him. But when he brought that sarcasm home, it just hurt. And I incorporated that same sarcastic tone. And so when I was talking to my wife when we were first married, it came out, and I didn't even know it. It wasn't until she pointed it out to me and taught me that I could begin to make the difference. So see, what I think we need to do is we need to share with our kids. If we mess something up, if we have a misstep, we need to point it out because we need to show the people around us how to repair a relationship. And when you do that with your children, man, oh man, that is a long-term investment. I mean, that's going to be multi-generational. And who knows, at some point in time, your child may need to reconcile with you. And so when we teach that, we know that reconciliation is kind of like up and down, right? It's like a stock market today. It just goes up and down. But over the long haul, it's going to pay off dividends.